Hi folks, can you hear our audio here? Hi folks, can you hear our audio here? Looks like we're still on Korea. Yeah, I should probably take a moment and update that stream title. How do I do that? Please help this poor boomer figure out how Twitch works.
I
Uh
assume we have to do the
Again?
TikTok dance and the name will automatically update.
Here we go. Strixhaven Q&A. All right. We should be all set. All right, folks. Not a whole ton of people here today, but we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're talking through the Strixhaven potential includes. And I do want to thank everyone for putting in their opinions on the various cards that we talked about in the Q&A. It helped us pare the list down pretty aggressively. So, not going to be talking about a whole lot of whiffs here today. But yeah, just as you know, a little bit of transparency. I basically started at the lowest rated card that I thought was worth discussing and culled everything below that. So we're going to be able to actually go through in Wilberg order, and we're going to be able to talk about all the stuff that had a fairly positive response from the community at large. Yeah. So let's get started in on stuff. Obviously, I've got Combat Professor up on the screen. I really like this card. I mean, I think I managed to goof up and actually show the screen. Like, I mean, people have compared it to a janky Sarah Angel, and I think that's like not the worst comparison. It's not. It is not as good as Sarah Angel, but it has more utility. Um, yeah, Fizzle, do you have any opinions on this card?
I think I'm the person who probably compared it to uh, oh my gosh, Parhelion Patrol.
Hmm.
My longtime uh, pioneer Popper Cube love uh, that that variant. I'd replaced Guardian of the Guild pack with that. Um, I I was originally disappointed, or I guess less excited about this. The chat, and I think it was maybe, oh man, I'm gonna forget your name and not say it right. Solnet. Uh, maybe talked me around on it. I'd not been reading the on combat as opposed to on attacks or when it attacks. So combat professor giving the benefit every turn, even when you don't throw them in the line of fire, is potentially very helpful. Um, I I still like the idea of mentor. I'd love to uh, I'd love for this to be counters, um, but I think giving a guaranteed buff uh, every turn starting on turn 4 is potentially very valuable, very valuable, especially as right now we're relatively low. I'll call them general creature buffs throughout the. You
Yeah.
know, we're playing a lot of base creatures against other base creatures instead of increasing power.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the fact that this thing is evasive. I like the fact that it can buff other stuff if it needs. Yeah, they are kind of close. Parhelion Patrol kind of pays you off for having a bigger go wide, and Combat Professor does interesting things with like large creatures. Um, yeah, I think they're both interesting cards. I think the fact that Combat Professor attacks as a 3/3 without a board and Parhelion Patrol, if it's the only thing left, is a bit of a bummer. Um, leads me to say that I kind of prefer Combat Professor just because it doesn't need anything else to be okay. But yeah, um, this one is, I would say, something I feel likely to at least test out, right? Like,
Yeah, I think that's very fair. The 4 drop spot that we have is it's always very competitive. Um, but gosh, I want to call it the Rhino. That's not the name of it. Rock's Veteran uh,
mm,
has performed very well, and we had that swath of cuts from Modern Horizons last update. And shockingly, we didn't say anything negative about Rock's Veteran because it's very good. This is not as good, but it serves the same kind of function. I think it's absolutely worth looking at.
yeah. Speedy Gonzalez in the chat points out, Speedy Gonzalez, excuse me, points out weirdly, I feel the prop is better for the new counters deck. It goes with the green hexproof cards. Yeah, I mean, and as far as Canadian chat Chaves, there's a lot of cards in white that people felt less positively about than this. So, I'm looking at Daring Skyjack, a card that people keep saying is not good and would like gone. So this might not be a perfect replacement for it, but yeah, Combat Professor does interesting things. Let's continue on. So let me swap back to our one card. And let me pull up Star People. I did not know that there was an artist proof of this. Yeah, so this is just a 1/1, but it comes in with a counter instead of actual power and toughness. And when it dies, you put its counters on target creature you control. So this is, a little bit more zest on what is it? Sparring construct? Is that what it's called? It's sparring something. I'm not immediate. I think it's
I think that's
construct.
right.
Ba, ba, ba.
Yes, Barn Construct is
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
Dominaria.
Yeah. So sparring construct. Let me just. I think I can pull that up on the second. Oh, wonderful. We're experiencing the exact same glitch we got last time, where things are being gross. We might wind up just doing the singleton and swapping around a little bit. So yeah, Sparring Construct's a 1/1 that does the same thing, kind of. Yes, Boomerang Squad in the chat points out there's also the green one from Tarkir. And me scale servant. I think that should get me in. Yeah, Servant of the Scale. So Servant of the Scale, for what it's worth, does not transport other counters onto creatures. That is relatively minimal. I don't think we have a whole ton of stuff that actually puts counters that aren't +1/+1 counters. For what it's worth, Star People does do that. Yeah, I think like both of these are both cards that, well, so for clarity, when we ran polls on Star Pupil, it was responded to reasonably positively, not super positively. And I think that is in part the fact that it is a kind of unexciting archetype support card. Like, no one is stoked about a 1/1 for one. And oh, I think we lost Fizzled. Oh no.
All right,
Oh,
sorry, I'm back.
there we go. Okay. Whew. Got worried for a moment there. Yeah. Both of these are reasonable like archetype support cards. Neither of them are exciting. Neither of them are like flashy, but they will do the thing. Also, the fact that these are really nice, where if you have a big thing and these, even late game, you can cast them out. They get a chump block, and you get to pump your big thing. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on this. Fizzle?
Uh, so before I lost audio, I was actually just trying to see what else we had that actually put counters on. The only thing that I quickly remembered was Boot Nipper. Um,
That does it
it's
on
absolutely
itself,
fine.
doesn't it?
Uh, yes.
Yeah. I was gonna say I don't think there's anything else. Like, and even if there is, it's minimal in my mind. Let me just pull up the list here. And filter counter.
I guess I guess fade counters slash vanishing counters,
Hmm. Again, there's still like
but
nothing
but
that puts
but
them on other
you
stuff.
can't put them on something else.
Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like unless we play around with like some of the stuff from Ikoria, like Star Pupil just moves it. Oh, there's serrated arrows. Oh, that's actually a fun one. I don't actually know how that rules interaction works because I don't know if state-based
Uh,
actions cancel them out before they die.
I mean they have to, right?
Does it? Because I that is actually a very good question that I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, either way, if they cancel each other out or they don't, they'll cancel it out when they go on whatever it is. They die before
Yeah, my
losing counters. Yeah, that sounds completely believable. With Servant of the Scale, you still get the +1/+1 counter even if they kill it with serrated arrows. Star Pupil, you don't get anything, but you also don't put a -1/-1 counter on anything, so it's kind of neutral.
I suppose that's reasonable. I was trying to remember how the ruling went for the Ozolith, which comes up
Oh,
all the time in Pauper Cube.
yeah, that is a weird old card. I guess not even old. It's a weird card.
Nope,
Um,
accurate.
yeah. So both of these are reasonable like archetype support. There is the question of what would come out for them, but both of these are very reasonable. Like one drop where you go this into your two drop, you maybe just swing in and pop the counter onto your two drop, and you're probably okay with that. It's nothing amazing, but it'll get work done. Yeah. What is up next for us?
Uh, before we move on, I'm going to ask what I hope is a goofy question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to look up the card because I had forgotten, and I didn't think about this until just. Nope, never mind. That's Exile.
All right.
Ignore me. I thought it was Sacrifice. It doesn't matter.
All right. All right. Next up on the list is another one of our. Oh, this is just delightful. I'm having like a doozy of a time today with. Oh, okay, cool. I guess this is how we're doing it. Um, Looks like that seems to have sorted some of the issues out. Bear with me, folks. I'm just gonna pull up some spreadsheets again. So the next one up on our list is, please, Skyfall. There we go. Curate. This is just a Deliberate from Zendikar Rising, but it mills instead of scrying. Since we don't have anything that actively cares about scrying, this might be one of those cases where I do the dreaded like for like replacement, where it's just a little bit better. Um, yeah, it's pretty much better Deliberate. Yeah. Um, I don't love doing like for like replacements, but we have a billion versions. Like a billion, it's exaggeration, but there's 3 versions of instant speed preordain at 2 mana if this gets in, and frankly, we don't need that level of density. Um, yeah, that's it. I like this. So
Yeah, I will agree. That is a fair assessment. Um, we, people, I think when this was previewed, brought up, are we going to offer some more support for Reanimator? And we realistically can't because there isn't much. But yeah, this
I mean,
like the the way it's worded, you the if you're putting the cards on top, it's exactly the same as scrying stuff to the top. You still get to reorder it however you. And if you put it on the bottom, and we don't have very many shuffle effects, barring that game where you go 37 turns, you weren't going to see that card again. It's
you like
fine.
Trickery 2 in the chat points out Curate does help delving, which I think is the most important. That was actually something I was going to bring up here. Like, it does make anything you have with delve on it a little bit more realistic. Yeah, I just think this card is good, and You know, if Watsy's going to keep iterating on like 2 mana preordains, like we're going to keep swapping them out as they get better and better. And like in this case, it's probably just better than Deliberate in almost every single circumstance. So yeah. Would replacing Omen instead be better for Spells Matter archetype? I mean, we don't really have Spells Matter. Like, there's stuff. If your particular version of the cube supports Spells Matter in like a meaningful way, I would say that yes, swapping it out on Omen would probably be good if you care about the card types. In our cube, there are things that care about spells, but not a huge density of them. So I'm more inclined to keep Omen of the Sea because it has additional things that it does. Yeah.
My very quick check through is uh, Mnemonic Wall and Is It Chronarch care about it for the same reasons.
Mm-hmm.
They get instants or sorceries, and Electromancer, which is a weird flavor card, also only affects instants and sorceries, have a few more things that impact permanence. Obviously, Cube All Star, Core Skyfisher lets you reset Omen anyway.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, Naiad. There we
definitely a
go.
trade off. If you're in like a cube where you're fully supporting like density style spells matter decks, then yes, I would say 100% this goes in over Omen. All right, let's continue on. The next one, our reigning champ for the only card that had zero negative opinions on it from Strixhaven is Frost Trickster. So this is just Frost Links, but they put flying on it and made it a bird. And boy howdy, that is a card. Yeah, James said card's good. I don't really know what else to say. Like, yes, this card is just good. Um,
Uh, yeah, that's accurate. Flash Links was already cubable, says Speedy Gonzalez.
I hate how good this is. Yeah, like this is just a strict improvement. Like over that, I am super stoked on this. I've talked about this a little bit in the Discord, but just gonna put it here on record. There is with the ever increasing number of ETB effects, there is sort of a increased value on being able to lock down creatures without bouncing them. You know, if for some reason you need to lock down your opponent's Muldrifter, I would much rather cast this and freeze it for 2 turns than Man of War it back to their hand and have a very, very bad time. Um, so yeah, and one of the things folks have also brought up is Aether Adept is kind of the worst of the two Mana War rifts that we have in there. The other being Mana War, and I feel like that's actually a pretty reasonable change. Yeah, uh, I don't know if anyone else has dissenting opinions because at this point, like those polls have been open long enough where I feel like people are just yes, put this in the cube. So I'm fine with that. Cross Strike is also good against Mana War. Yeah, I mean, like it just does stuff. I I don't know what to say. Like sometimes they just give us very good cards and it's hard to say no. All right, moving on.
Uh, I have one very goofy thing that doesn't
Yeah.
always come up, but today I learned that Aether Adept is a $1 foil, possibly because it hasn't
Huh.
been printed in a while. And
Interesting.
Frost Trickster being a brand new card, like a quarter in foil.
Yeah. All right. Next
That
up.
assumes the foiling is good right now. I don't.
Yeah. Next up is Lash of Malice. So this is kind of a riff on your disfigure effects, with the interesting side effect of being able to use this as like an aggressive combat trick. So this is kind of a shock to the face. This is kind of a shock. Is actually probably the best way to think about it. Like it either pumps up one of your larger creatures in the mid to late game after blockers, or it kills something early on. You know, a good bolt for the bird. Yeah, Replace one of the two CMC ones for this. What do we have at two CMC for black removal? We've got Cast Down,
'Cause
which is just way better.
Yeah.
We've got Last Gasp, which is interesting. There's Nameless Inversion, which is this with some flavor text attached to it. Um, and Nameless Inversion does distinctly have the difference of usually almost exclusively being a kill spell. So we're kind of in this weird spot of like a Lash of Malice is less good at killing things, but it's better as like a non-removal spell, which is interesting. Um, just looking through here, I also know that we have what is it,
We also
Myers
have Vicious
Grasp.
Offering
Yep.
there for reason.
Yeah, Vicious Offering is a bit of support for aristocrats. We've got Myers Grasp, which is sorcery speed, last gasp. We've got Dead Weight, which is sorcery speed, disfigure. Um, yeah, I think like this is definitely something where we could use this as kind of a textural thing. It does, if we cut one of the -3 -3s, it does kind of, make three toughness things a little bit better, which I don't honestly mind because this wants to get played with three toughness things. I wouldn't mind removing inversion for the additive distraction issue it has. That is a very reasonable point. Boomerang. Like there is a lot of text on nameless inversion and about what four words actually matter most of the time. Yeah, I think that's actually pretty reasonable. I
Wait, you
get.
mean you haven't been using Nameless Inversion to shrink one of your 4 toughness humans,
I was
then
about to
mutate it,
say. I
and
was
then
about to say that was the only thing I could think of is the mutate cards that care about creature types. Yeah. Um, yeah. I think that's actually a pretty reasonable thing to point out. Boomerang. Thank you for that. But yeah, I like this a lot. It is actually a flexible removal slash pump spell. Um, next up.
oh,
Oh,
there's 2 other scenarios where it
yeah.
could. Actually, no, there's only one other scenario where it could matter. Bonds of Faith exists. Yeah, today.
Oh, that is interesting. But yeah, I'd rather like get rid of one card that has needless rider text that comes up once every 200 games and just have a clean version of the effect. Let's move on to another one that was pretty impressively well liked. It's Unwilling Ingredient. It is 1 black for a 1/1 with menace, and when it dies, you can pay 3 mana and exile it to draw a card and lose a life. It's neat. Um, I
It's
would.
a 2 card combo with Curate.
There you go. This is the best new card. So I think the interesting thing is we don't have a ton of great equipment or auras, like which would make this the front half of this be actually really great. Obviously, blocking this with two creatures feels awful, just because you have to leave back two things to eat this 1/1. Um, but yeah, like I don't know. This is one of those things where it kind of feels miserable to remove this. It kind of feels miserable to block it, and 1 damage a turn is not the most, but who doesn't want a Rancor strap to? Yeah, like yeah, strapping a Rancor or Bone Splitter on this does stuff. I'm There's no other way to like say that. Like, although Rancor, the +2/+0 matters a lot more than the trample since it's already got menace. But
Uh, yeah, that part's accurate. I mean, I have very few bad things to say. I
yeah,
think we've talked about in the past. My other secret love is my goofy 1 drop cube, and
oh,
this
this seems like
is
a
this is
slam
a
dunk
slam dunk
there.
there. Yeah, it's a slam dunk there, and like because I have so much more equipment there, I wondered was I overvaluing it here, and the answer is basically no. This is this is great. Getting to choose when to draw your card in black is pretty delightful.
Yeah,
I can't think of a color pair including black where you wouldn't want to get to choose.
and this is definitely one of
And
those things where like this accidentally can, or quote unquote accidentally, can wind up in the bin pretty easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's talk about some other graveyard value here. So this is Illustrious Historian. So this is a Piker, so 2 mana for a 2/1. It just has 5, exile it, create a tapped 3/2 color red and white spirit token. Um, yeah, this is like one that I was surprised. I feel like in some part this is like one of those cases where this is probably a reasonable thing to play as your 23rd card in Strixhaven. I am not stoked about this. We don't play the black version. What is the black version of this? I know the white version of this.
Uh,
Because the white one is
we had it.
yeah, Unwavering Initiate is the one I was thinking of. Thank you. It's from SOI. Hold on, let me see.
Oh, I was thinking Dauntless Cathar from SOI. I'm looking
Oh,
up.
you know what? I know. I think I know. I remember this card. I can picture it in my head. I think that one's a little bit worse on rate if I remember.
It goes 3/2 into 1/1 flying. Ghoul Caller's Accomplice is going to be our black same
Yeah.
set.
Yeah, this is the one that it's a 2/2 into a 2/2. Okay. So like slightly better body on the front half, slightly cheaper for a slightly worse body on the second half. For what it's worth, Illustrious Historian can be done at instant speed, which is not nothing. Yeah, like this is just one where like this one was above the cutoff point. I'm not sold on it. There's not a lot of stuff in red that I think is better in this set, but yeah. Um, yeah, I think we can move on from
I
there.
I kind of wonder when we, it's hard to give clear guidance on how we want people to think about things. I wonder if this is one of those cards where people thought, what's the best scenario? And the best case scenario is turn one Faithless Looting where I bin this and something else. And
It's still
then at
five
some point I
mana.
have enough. I know. I don't know. I'm like, I like it. I like the idea of it in Strixhaven limited. I I can see how it could be right in the middle, but not exciting enough to in the context of our cube, I should say,
So here's an
to
interesting
get
thing,
in.
just to kind of talk about stats for a moment from the polling we did. This had a lower average score using the metric that we use than Star Pupil, but it had more positive opinions. So this is something where there's a reason why there's a bunch of columns in that big old spreadsheet. Um, yeah. Let's move on though. Let's talk about a card that again almost everyone liked. That would be Bayou Groff. So this is a 1 and a green for a 5/4, and when you cast it, you either have to sack a creature or pay 3 more mana. This got I believe, a single solitary neutral, and the rest were positive. Slam it, Young Wolf's best friend. Yeah, like I don't know what don't you want to feed into this if your opponent doesn't have exactly like blue mana up. This is a good pop. Here's the thing: I keep looking at this and keep thinking it's a bear.
Oh yeah, that's reasonable.
I don't know, but yeah, I do really like this. Yeah, there's enough tokens around. Like this is something where I'm just like, yeah, this is a cool card. It is probably good. It is, normally this additional cost sack a creature is like something, but I don't know. This one is. It's also nice that you don't need to sack exactly. Thank you. There was a removal spell similar to this. What was it? Spark
Spark
Harvest.
Harvest.
Yeah, so Spark Harvest is another kind of riff on this where, and this one was a little bit worse because the 5 mana destroy target creature is very bad, but 5 mana, get a 5/4 is still fine. Also good with Unearth. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, unearthing this probably God, I don't even know what colors you're in at that point. Like you're getting this into the bin off your faithless lootings that you curved into unearth to reanimate your Bayou Groff. Ugh.
Uh, no, you could do this in green with a card that might not be in the cube right now. Grapple
Uh
with past.
yeah,
Got there.
grapple's still in. I cannot wait to unearth this. I'm gonna check bait good with unearth. Yep. Yep, that is me. You can unearth this thing? Cool, great, I love it. It's so much better. Yeah. So Biograph probably going in a 5/4 is just a lot of meat on the bone. Um, let's continue on to other actual bears with the Professor of Zoomancy.
I still
Um,
struggle to this one.
yeah. So this is
It's
just 4 mana for 5/4 worth of stats, and I think that's what people responded positively to. I should note this is just actually not even just barely positive. This one's actually pretty positive in the great scheme of things, like 63%. So like little bit under 2/3 of people thought had positive feelings about this one. My comparison was Pima Outrider. Let me just pull that one up for folks who don't remember Kaladesh Draft. Yeah, so this is a 3/3 trample
gotta fabricate.
for 4, and it's got Fabricate. So you either get a 4/4 with trample, or you get a 3/3 with trample and a 1/1. Barely positive. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, both of these, like Pima Outrider is a little bit harder to cast, and but does give you the option of just making something that is bolt proof, which is cool and good. Um, yeah, I don't know. Professor Zoomancy is just a lot of stats.
Yeah, I think that's maybe my issue, but maybe my hesitation. Like, and I like it in the abstract. I probably will like it when it actually gets to play, but I can't figure out, do I like this as much as Penumbra Spider or one of the other
Mm,
cards that we have that's basically two bodies for 3 mana, 4 mana, or 5 mana. And I don't
yeah.
know that it needs to sub out for something like that, but green decks have had issues um, with their big creature getting over armies of tokens,
Yes.
and this doesn't necessarily help us close out.
Yeah. And also, like with 3 toughness, like this is one of those things where if you've got some tokens and like a random 2 power like bear thing on the ground, like you'll probably trade for this thing. Four damage is a lot. Yeah, I don't know. It's a neat card. It's a lot of stats in a bottle, and I don't know. I do find the art adorable for what it's worth. But let's continue on. Let's talk about let's talk about a weird one. Let's talk about Owlin Shield Mage. So this is the classic 5 mana 3/3 flyer with sets keyword, and in this case it's Ward pay 3 life. I have feelings about this. I've definitely seen folks comparing this to that Thrall. Let me find the name of it. I'm sure someone will get it in the chat by the time. Grasping Thrall. Yeah, thank you. Um, so Grasping Thrall is same mana cost, same body. When it ETBs, you drain 2. Um, so this is less damage to the opponent's face on the ETB/targeting trigger. That said, you know, I get I it kind of these two cards play out similarly but very differently, if that makes any sense. Like they're both reasonable flying threats, but both of them have a instance where an opponent will lose life. Thrall is obviously cooler if you can flicker it, but yeah, I don't know. People were really positive about Alan Shieldmage, and I've kind of become more lukewarm on this as time's gone on. I'd love other opinions though.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of the same way. It's it's fine for the purpose that I imagine it serving, and it might even be fine for the purpose that we generally have things in the cube, which which is signaling. It feels of a part um, with the other various, I want to call them Orzhov cards,
Yeah,
that
that's fine.
cause people to drain, to have vampire experiences.
Yeah, and I mean, like, there are other cards in Orzhov currently that people are not huge fans of. Specifically, Final Payment is one that folks have expressed not being stoked about being in there. Let me just pull that one up. Because Final Payment is pretty much just a fancy removal spell. There's also Unearth. I'm gonna admit, on it after the pre-release, I ended up trading out for the GB Hybrid 5/5 Magecraft. I don't remember what that card is. Yeah, it makes the removal hurt. If they're already dead, they can't afford three. But they're already dead if they can't afford the 3 life. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, Owlin Shield Mage looked cool, and I definitely was guilty of getting new toy syndrome about it. Wither Blood Apprentice. Yeah, I don't know. I would like to maybe try and spice up Orzhov away from just like very good removal because we got Final Payment, we've got or Unmake, not you make. We got Unmake. Like these are good cards. They are boring. Shrieking Grotesque. I don't remember this one. 3 mana, 2/1 flyer, ATB. This card shows a lot of age around the edges. Regardless, we did see that folks are not stoked about those taking up gold spots. Alan Shieldmage at the current moment probably isn't getting in unless someone. It's a Liliana Spectre. Yeah, it's a Liliana Spectre. Is the issue. Like Spectre's not amazing either. Um, I don't know. Like, especially the fact that this is a Spectre you can't flicker profitably, or you have to fully have it die, come back, cast it again. I don't know. This is definitely, I don't know. But white black, as with many of the color pairs, just does not have great gold options. That are also interesting. But let's continue on. Let's talk about a card that I think is actually really good. Infused with Vitality. So we have seen a lot of riffs on this effect of, you know, pay mana legally distinct from regenerate target creature. Although I guess yeah, this one's the one of the ones where it actually returns. So this is kind of a nutty card because it's black green for conditional flicker removal and gain life. Um, it's neat.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting a text message from my wife, which I know is so unprofessional. Um, sorry, my smallest human is not having a good day. I
Mm,
can hear it. Um, yeah. So we have in Golgari, and we've had it for a little while. A card that I'm not excited about, but there hasn't been great tools. We have uh, what's the hag's name?
Desecrator Hag, yeah.
Desecrator Hag. Yes,
Uh,
which is like it's fine, but not exciting. It's basically just a grave digger with extra steps, um, and this I don't know. I don't want to cast it on turn two
yeah,
very often after a one drop, but there are a lot of 2 and 3 drops in both green and black. I guess collectively, where like my opponent's going to put some bodies in the way and try to not soak up damage from my green tramplers or
yeah.
kill my reasonable black threats. Getting a second bite at the apple feels fine. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's great.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely like in a weird spot of like this is a very reactive card, but when you get to react with it, like I don't know, like well, let me just peek. What do we got here? I cast out my Sorrel's pack mate on turn 3, and then turn 4 when it crashes in, my opponent decides to try and trade with it. I go, ha, nice try, dummy, and trigger another draw and gain 2 and kill their thing. Um, yeah, I don't know. I like this a lot, and I know from looking at the big spreadsheet here, people are pretty lukewarm on some of the Golgari cards. Specifically Rotworm, and you know that I absolutely adore just dragging like mana curves down when we can. So yeah, I'm a fan.
actually, that's fair. That's pretty fair. I Rotworm has been a card that I've liked because I like the impact that it has, but cost the cost is essentially rough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to think more about this as we get more feedback from chat.
That on Volshock Sorcerer. Oh boy. Oh, that's a doozy right there. Yeah, like this is just a card that has. This is very much like a 2021 card where it's just like, wow, there's a lot of words on this card. It probably should be getting played. Um, all right.
I do just want to note that Chaves, I'm assuming I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I don't know because it's always in text. Is proposing that we jund them out in all formats,
Yes.
including
Yes.
Pauper Cube,
I mean
and I have to respect that. I respect that hustle.
all right. Let's continue on. Let's talk about Relic Sloth. I was kind of shocked to see how favorable people were on this. Red White for a long time has been kind of low to the ground, go wide aggro. And this is not that. That said, if you hit 5 mana in Boros, boy howdy, this does some stuff. It is vigilant, it is evasive, it is kind of Sarah Angel if you squint really hard and, you know, don't look at the art too closely. Um, yeah, I don't know. This feels very weird to include because it is kind of like a card that I feel like, if you're I would love this as a Gruul card. Oh hell yes. Like if this was any color combo besides this, I would be all over it. My hesitance comes from the fact that I worry that this is functionally a goes in decks that are white splashing red, if that makes any sense. Um, yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's big.
like I mean that's very reasonable. Vigilance Vigilance hasn't. I mean, it's interesting, but it doesn't always excite me in the Pauper Cube. Menace is up there. It's probably my third favorite form of evasion that we have. It feels weird in Boros slash Lorehold.
Yeah, that is like my one
I don't know how
reservation
to
about
describe
this.
my feelings. Yeah, I think so. Here's the issue that I actually think I have. Um, I want my at least as Boros is currently constructed. Sorry, White Red is currently constructed in the cube. I want our cards to have impact outside themselves. Um, a big vigilant body doesn't do that. It doesn't disrupt the other stuff that our opponents are doing. It doesn't help our early drop creatures become more threatening themselves. Um, and it doesn't necessarily require a radical overhaul of the color pair, but it it doesn't. This doesn't intuitively to me feel like it serves the guiding principles that we have previously looked to white and or red in the past to make them cohesive or potentially cohesive without being on rails.
Yeah, it lives in this funny space of this card in isolation. Like if you ignore the colors on it, is like a 5 mana 4/4 vigilance menace is good. It's the fact that I worry that this is not actually a Boros card and is in fact just a white X splashing red card. Speedy Gonzalez points out, feels like Azorius Knight Arbiter. Why do I not remember this card?
It was from not War of the Spark.
It is from
Guilds?
Ravnica Allegiance. It is a 2/5 vigilance can't be blocked. Huh. I completely forgot. Oh, no, no, no. I remember this card now. It's the one that plays nice with High Alert. Okay. Yeah, I can kind of see that. Like it's just like yeah. Relic Sloth is one of those cards where I instinctively know it's good and I just can't bring myself to go, yeah, this should just automatically go in. This is one we're gonna have more discussions about, I feel. But
Yeah.
let's continue on. We've got another one that kind of shocked me to see here. And then someone explained to me why they liked it, and I get it. So this is the Eureka moment. So this is draw 2 cards, you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. My gut reaction to this was that's not a good growth spiral. And then someone pointed out that we play a lot of cards that are 4 mana, instant speed, draw 2 with very little upside. So,
Huh.
yeah, like we kind of have like this like rotating slot of like so in blue specifically, we have Behold the Multiverse, we have Hieroglyphic Illumination.
We
Um,
previously had Reign of Revelation and
yep. We have Witching
gosh,
Well,
we had
which is
another one.
kind of that. Like we are playing a lot of things that kind of just have 4 mana draw a card or draw 2 cards. And this one has a little bit of upside. My big catch here, the thing that is holding me back here is we've been trying to move blue green away from ramp, and this is something that signals ramp, even though this is probably just a reasonable draw spell that sometimes puts a land into play.
Yeah, that's fair. Uh, I'm trying to think my way through this because some of this is not stuff I thought about. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. So right now the I'm still going to call it Cynic.
Mhm.
Think of the name Quandrix,
Yeah.
something like that. Cynic is the multicolor spots rather are all very reactive and kind of they're not counter spells themselves, but we have some flash creatures. We have creatures that get bigger and ambush attackers. We have creatures that you might play at the end of the turn in order to get an untapped attacker with pseudo haste. Um, but just drawing a card, just drawing 2 cards doesn't doesn't excite. It doesn't move the chains really for me. It doesn't feel like it advances any of blue green's goals. The last 2 times that I was able to draft in paper, man, I miss it. Uh, I sorry that I last times that I drafted Cynic in paper, I should say. Um, I got to a point where my opponent was at I don't know 7 life. Different
Mm-hmm.
games, and I what I'm looking for is really a thing that gets me over that last 7 life. It gets me around blockers,
Yeah.
um, not not just draw some other cards and hope you already have other cards that do it.
When this buffs UG Pledge Mage, it feels really good. So, Running Monkeys. That actually is a nice segue. So, I think Eureka Moment is a fine card if you are if blue green is your ramp pair, and I do just want to say that. Like, I think this is a very reasonable card. I get it. I think it is a weird fit. It's not something I don't want to include because of power level. It's something I don't want to include because I don't think it bolsters the game plan. Quandrix Pledge Mage, on the other hand, is going to let both Fizzle and I be big old boomers and talk about how this kind of looks like a Quirion Dryad if you squint at it real hard. Um, and we can be old men and talk about the fact that, like, this makes me want to play Miracle Grow.
I remain so upset that they reprinted Dryad. Miracle Grow was not good standard somehow.
Yeah. So yeah,
Like I can't believe it wasn't good in standard.
like this is the exact kind of card that I want to push sort of a tempo oriented game plan where it's like, okay, cool, like I'm gonna grab all these bounce spells, I'm gonna grab this cheap interaction and cantrips. Queering Diet needs to be common. It probably could be at this point. Yeah, good with spells and good with counters matter. That is an interesting point. This can just be played as a green creature in like a green white counters deck. That is a totally fine thing to do. Yeah, I think trying to push blue green like tempo-y stuff is really enjoyable. The fact that this can't, like, I'm just going to speak some evil into the world and say, like, I would really love to play this in a travel prep deck, and we will get to that card in a moment. Don't worry, folks. We're almost to the end of Strixhaven stuff, but like I'm just looking through here. Like, you could opt selling at instant speed. You could repeal selling at instant speed. Blink of an eye. We've got a couple of draw spells at instant. Plenty of counters if they do anything during combat to try and remove this. Got snap. We've got capsize. Like, I would really like this in the cube, and I think we'll probably
Play
at
it back
least
with two
test it.
creatures and wild size. Like there's a lot of beneficial time or beneficial. It makes it a snap to choose to play your instance,
Yeah.
especially during combat.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and this also just does kind of, you know, get people in blue green to turn creatures sideways, which is, proactive gameplay. I love it. This is actually currently like part of a deck, which I don't know how good it is because I don't pay a ton of attention to Pauper Constructed, but people are playing this in a Delver shell, which is really cool. Um,
Huh.
yeah, I mean, think about it. You're running how many cantrips? Like, this thing gets pretty big pretty quick. Um, but yeah, I like this card a lot. We're probably going to test it. It might turn out to be something that people hate, but we'll give this time to actually percolate. It's good with Titanic Brawl. Ooh, that's a spicy little ditty. It's a fight spell for 1 mana, and if what's an instant speed fight spell, which is kind of neat. Um, I need to find that deck. Yeah, like I think Alex Ullman, who is a personal friend, just published an article on Channel Fireball about it. It looked super neat. Like, honestly, just seeing a Miracle Grow style thing is super neat to me. At any format. Let's continue on though. For colorless, we have exactly one colorless card to talk about. The rest of them were mixed enough, and that would be Introduction. Introduction to Prophecy. So this is 3 mana, scry 2, draw card. So this is probably the worst rate I've ever seen for a preordain, but it is colorless. There you go. Yeah, that's not that looks like a URL that tracks. Yeah, Introduction to Prophecy is just a colorless preordain at 3. In case folks didn't notice, we don't have any learn cards in this thing. So the fact that this is a lesson doesn't matter. And I don't know if that changes how people feel about this. I think this is fine as a filler card. It can't possibly be more hated than Prophet of the Peak, so it's got that going for it.
Sorry, I'm having quite a bit of lag on my audio. Uh, yeah, that's like it's a glue card. It does glue kind of things.
I think they're better colorless cards. Yeah, there probably are. Um, Draft has really gone off the rails when you're playing this. I think that's fair. Like to be fair, a lot of the colorless cards at common are kind of in that realm. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think this is something where like if you need a 23rd card, you'd rather this than like a decent number of colorless things. But I don't know. It's worth adding one lesson card. I mean, there is also like yeah, there is kind of some bulk with that. I'd rather play environmental science as a 23rd card. If you really want to play environmental sciences, I cannot legally stop you from doing that.
So I think one of the considerations that this lesson and also environmental sciences had me thinking about is at what point do I want to potentially draft them? Depending on the hypothetical control deck that I'm in, I never want this card earlier than like pick 7.
That is
Um,
kind of the awkward thing. Like this is a kind of sideboardy kind of thing, and we don't include stuff to have it live in the sideboard.
right.
Like this feels
So
like something where
if
you
it's not
take
exciting to draft,
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, like this even feels weird to take at like seventh pick in a pack. Like you need to know that something has gone drastically wrong in your deck building to know that this is going to be good, and that's real wonky. I don't know. I was a lot higher on this before, and 3 mana is just a lot for this effect.
yeah, I think that's fair. Mike he him asks, in most decks, would you rather have Pilgrim's Eye? And I for sure would rather have Pilgrim's Eye or the Fox from Ikoria. Um, a thing that puts a card in my hand and has an impact on the board, even if that impact I'm a jump blocker, um, is is a card I want to draft earlier, and I am more likely to want to play than
Yeah,
a slow preordain.
yeah. That's kind of the awkward thing about this card is like you want to pick this like 10th plus, and that's not and it's not because it's like archetype specific, it's just because it's not great. And that kind of like you don't include stuff in a cube generally that is picked late because it's just not very good. Your late pick should mostly be archetype stuff. But let's move on from here. I'm going to pull up one of these. There are 5 of them. Um let's talk. Does it play in blue red when other people are stealing your cantrips? I would not feel good about that. That's the thing. Like it's just so rough to pay 3 mana for that. Like that's not a cantrip at that point. Like that is spending 3 mana on a spell that should cost 1, in my mind. Silver Quill Campus. Let's talk about these. S tier lands. Hell yes. Hell yes. These are 100% S tier lands in my mind. We have had in the past year, we have gone from or actually when was Jumpstart? I don't know I don't know if that was within the last year, but we've gone from 3 playsets of functionally pretty identical with the game lands being the standout, like three cycles of functionally identical lands. We now have the thriving lands, which are great. Augustish. Okay, cool. So within the past year, we have expanded from basically 3 sets of guild gates, some with slight upside, to be able to run thriving lands, which as long as you match one color in your pool, are great. They keep you nice and open. We've gotten the snow duels, which are great. They are fetchable off of your nature's lures and 3 visits. We now have these. I am looking forward to the bright future where the land section is just a mess of different effects that are all guild gates that have extra text put on them that we can tailor based on the archetype. That said, right now we have the campuses and we only have 5 of them. I understand some people are going to hate putting in 5 out of a cycle. we're probably putting these in.
I'm definitely one of the people who does not like to have my patterns broken if they don't need to be. But I also wondered, is it advantageous to break the cycle even further and only potentially include 3 or 4 these? But there's not a clear and clean way in my mind to determine um, which colors would keep, for example, the gain lands and which ones would get these scry lands. Um, I hate. I hate not being able to make that determination, which I think means put them all in.
Yeah, yeah. I think these will all go in, and if this is a pattern that WotC continues down, which I really really hope they do, like we've had the guild gates enough. Just give me cool like minimal things like there's strip. Just gonna add them. What would be the cuts? These would replace the enemy gain lands. Um, Colorless means I'm playing them half off color in the right decks. Yeah, like I don't even necessarily think that's wrong. Um, I think this is a really powerful ability to tack onto lands, and I would like to see how it plays. I think these are very much something where in 6 months we're going to know if people think that these are miserable or if they think they're good. My gut call is a guild gate that in the late game, if I don't have anything else to do, I can pay 4 or 5 functionally to scry one. That is a lot better than a guild gate. Um, yeah, I don't know. I like these a lot. I can't wait to draft a 5 color pile with these as my fixing. Just really really heinous degeneracy. Yeah. All right. That brings us to the end of Strixhaven stuff in a tight little hour of actually streaming, give or take. Um, let's talk about a card. I know I know people need us to talk about this card. Um, when we were putting together the update for Kaldheim, excuse me, um, we neglected to put in Snakeskin Veil. It is just better than Ranger's Guile.
Rangers Guile.
Yes, thank you. Um, Snakeskin Veil will be going in the cube. It supports the counters theme. This type of effect is cool. It's good for the aforementioned blue-green tempo-y stuff. Has to go in just for the Japanese art. I don't actually remember the Japanese art. Let me. Oh yeah, that's pretty nice. There's also. Oh, sorry. There's also the non-Japanese one. Um, all great choices for this. I know some people hate the uncommon symbols, but we've got options already. Yeah, this is a formal apology for us missing this. Basically, it will be going in. I don't know if we're just cutting Ranger's Guile or if we have 2 versions of bad versions of what is it? What is that one? The one that gives +2/+2 from from Kaladesh. Uh, God, really just whiffing on names, but yeah, like these I think are Blossoming Defense. Thank you. Um, yeah, these like kind of weird or well, one's a worse Blossoming Defense. The other one is you know a side grade to Blossoming Defense. I'd say 2 versions we can fit them. Yeah, like I am really gung ho on blue green being a tempo-y color pair, and these are great. Like they protect your creature, and Snakeskin Veil is much better in the fact that it does just permanently grow the thing. But yeah, um, let's let me just open up the Discord on a second window here, because we got a lot of requests for stuff to talk about, and we're gonna kind of scoot through some of these pretty quickly. And the main thing is, folks want that wonderful +1/+1 counters theme updated. And we're going to start off right away. I'm not going to do them quite in order because I do want to talk about poor travel preparations, which has been in and out of the cube at this point 3 times, I think.
I think 3 was what we found last time we looked. Yeah.
Yeah. Folks have expressed over and over again Selesnya is not good. Travel preparations aligns with the plan of pushing +1/+1 counters in this color pair. Worst case scenario, this is also something you can just jam in green. This used to be old tech back in the day in constructed pauper for boggles, so that you could just you just slap something on your creature as well. Yeah, I think I think this is good. It will be coming back in. If it goes away again, I'm so sorry. Just just know that this is like the most frequent flyer. Yeah, yeah, it's very good. It aligns a little bit closer. Yeah, we know this card is good. It's been in the queue before. And then it gets cut, and then it comes back in, and then it gets cut and comes back in. But yeah, this is another one that's likely going in. Here's another one that I would love, and a lot of these will wind up in the rating channel, just so that folks can express opinions on them there, and we can kind of get a more group consensus kind of stuff. Another one that was requested is Sauriform Hybrid, which is a bear with sets keyword. In this case, it's adapt 4 for 6. Should get an award for its troubles. Yeah. Travel preparations, as I joked, is travel in and out of the cube preparations, and it does have that award. Yeah. So we've got Sauriform Hybrid, which I believe Chaves actually brought up, who I think might still be in chat. Yeah, this is a bear with sets keyword. I am not super stoked on this, but I think it's probably reasonable. Like this smacks of card is boring, but probably puts in more work than it looks like. Adapt is a top mechanic, yeah. Adapt and Monstrous are both cool mechanics. It's not flashy, but it does a ton of work. Yeah, like that's exactly what this looks like. It looks like something where you play this as a bear, it trades for a 2 toughness thing, and you're fine. Yeah, like this is the epitome of Bolt is not a very flashy card, but it does a lot of stuff. And Sauriform Hybrid kind of. I'm not saying Sauriform Hybrid is as good as Bolt. Please do not take that as the message here. But this is a boring but probably works kind of thing. Oh, all right. Fizzle will be back in a second. I think we can. I think we can wait on him to get back. Sauriform deal 4 damage in 2 turns, strictly better than lightning bolt. There you go. There you go. I also, having literally just last night watched Mortal Kombat, just cannot see anything besides Scorpion, or exactly Reptile from Mortal Kombat when I look at this. Bolt is very flat. Okay, thank you, Running Monkeys, for the comedy. Was it good? Mortal Kombat was a Mortal Kombat movie. I had fun. I'm not gonna say it was good in a critical film sense, but if you do want to watch people get punched a whole lot, I go ahead. It's good. Sorry, I'm just gonna sit here and vamp until Fizzle gets back in the call. It's a 6/6 haste that fits in your 2-drop slot. It doesn't have haste, but oh, you're saying just play it out on turn 2. If it survives, you get to pay 6 mana and suddenly you have a 6/6. Yeah. Boomerang Squad is right. If you enjoy Mortal Kombat, you will enjoy the Mortal Kombat movie. It is not going to change your life, but boy howdy, it is a Mortal Kombat movie with a big budget, and it looks very good. All right, we can maybe scoot on, and if Fizzle has stuff to say about hybrid, we can loop back around. Do you think the multicolor sections will add another card soon? If anything, we're going to cut cards. There are too many gold cards in this cube. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. Gold cards in Pauper in general. So one of the issues we have is that some color pairs are already playing cards that are quote unquote the best and still not very good. Specifically, Rakdos is abysmal. There are not good Rakdos multicolor cards. And the catch here is we either unbalance the multicolor section. Yeah, Chaves hits it on the head here. Dimir could run 8 to 10 easily. Like, there's easily 8 to 10 good Dimir multicolor cards. Rakdos has like 3, and I think we're running all of them already. Um, oh, I see Fizzled. I see the face. You there, buddy?
Yeah, sorry about that.
No
I had
worries.
to completely restart my phone.
Don't worry. We had a
Sounds like we're talking about unbalancing the gold.
well. It was more just a question about multicolor sections adding another card, and kind of the issue of like we need to either unbalance it or trim, and either one of those is possible. Yeah. Did you have anything to say about Soarform Hybrid before we move on, or
Uh, Only that I really like both Monstrous and Adapt. I like that Adapt is a cleaner, cleverer version of Monstrous.
yeah,
I was sad we didn't get Hybrid originally. Um, yeah,
yeah,
I generally like it. I wish it had evasion, but I say this about everything in green.
yeah?
And by evasion, I mean trample.
I mean, a 6/6 is gonna be the abyss, or it's gonna start killing them. So either one of those.
Yeah.
Let's real quick talk about Phantom Tiger. Hold on. Let me pull up the art that I want. Okay, there we go. Phantom Tiger. So the phantom creatures are a weird old keyword that has since been amended because they have a really weird sort of catch to them. Both phantoms are really good. They are. So these are creatures that come in with +1/+1 counters on it. If damage would be dealt to it, prevent that damage and remove a +1/+1 counter. When they create these creatures nowadays, they have a rider here about it has to have a counter on it to do this. Um, these play super well with equipment.
Cowards.
Yeah, yeah. Clearly cowards. So there's Phantom Tiger. There's also at common there is also Phantom Nomad, which is just
Nomad,
a
yeah.
bear. Also one of the most gorgeous arts out of Judgment. Just as a side note. Big fan of this. Yeah, these play really nice. It's just a blade on the tiger, good to go. Yeah, we have like a surprising amount of ways to make these just immortal. And honest, well, quote unquote immortal. Put it my is like -X effects still kill these. Um, that said, they are very resilient. They give you a reason to play these colors. They give you a reason to value equipment. They give you a reason to value even the what is it? Moldervine cloak. Like Moldervine cloak with these and like some kind of like I would love to play a Moldervine cloak, Phantom Tiger, Gravedigger kind of combo. Oh yeah, and destroy effects, of course. Yeah, you can also just Doomblade these things. Thank you, Gonzalez. I completely forgot
Yes.
about that. That's a good
It is
point.
unless they were saying it's making us value destroy effects because nobody for value cast down,
Yeah, like these those are already
which
good
is,
effects, but
yeah,
yeah,
we joke, but it becomes more valuable for real.
yes.
Pacifism. It's actually a good point. Are there any that are human with
No.
phantom types?
What is Phantom Nomad? Phantom Nomad is a spirit nomad. I didn't know Nomad was a creature type. I think it's okay to have to build your own pseudo Guardian of the Guild pack. Yeah, like Phantom Nomad is sometimes just going to be a bear that takes a little longer to die and gets to chump block twice. Or you strap on your Volsock Morningstar and just pile as many counters on this thing as you can and just bash in. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah,
Can I say
I
the
like these.
cliche of good with core Skyfisher?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like if one of these is like getting a little getting down to one counter, you can Skyfisher it back. It's a persist asterisk body without Morning Star. Yeah, yeah. Like these have, huh? I never realized these do just kind of have persist. Huh. Interesting. I believe those are all like the Phantom creatures in common. I'm just gonna do a real quick check because they all had Phantom in the name, which makes it nice. Yeah, okay. Those are the only two with this Judgment specific effect. Yeah, I like both of these. These are both things we can consider. Phantom Tiger does have, and I know I have big nostalgia for Judgment. This is the art I love, but we also have the very nice Seb McKinnon art. That's pretty spooky. It's cool. I like it. Let me see. What else do we have in this thread? There's someone who Soulset brought up Bloom Hulk. Um, Bloom Hulk is a little bit more
It's got
paras.
the proliferate, right?
Yeah, Bloom Hulk is
Yeah.
the 4/4 with ETB proliferate. Um, this is definitely more of an ancillary support card. It does have the distinct issue of it's good when you're doing your thing. If they've removed a couple of your creatures, this can be kind of so-so. Um, and yeah, I feel like Palm Bright Druid is better. Thank you for bringing that up, Gilzal. Let's take a peek at Pollen Bright Druid. So Pollen Bright Druid is a 1/1 that either becomes a bear or proliferates. It's good with serrated arrows and multiple ways. Yep, yep. Yeah. Palm Bright Druid is a little bit lower to the ground. When has a 4/4 been bad? I mean, not really. That is like a fair point. Like just dumping a 4/4 probably solves some board states. Um, yeah. That
We did
that
just
that is
consider the bear professor today, so
yeah.
the body is on rate for things we're still considering.
Yeah. Yeah, Bloom Hulk is reasonable. Palm Bright Druid is definitely more of the like, I either play this out as a bear that maybe gets bigger or tick everything up in the late game. These are definitely like interesting ones. There was someone yes, someone brought up Cave of Temptation. Blue Hulk is 4 power, worst case can be 10 power at best. Yeah. I just remember being super lukewarm about it in War of the Spark, but I also didn't like playing green in War of the Spark, so that's probably personal bias. So I'm not going to bring that in here. Um, Cave of Temptation. This is a Shimmering Grotto. Um, it's slow. Shimmering Grotto is not a good color fixing land. It is a color fixing land that you play when you have no other options. This functionally is kind of like putting a Thorn of Amethyst that only affects you for certain spells. Like it does just make a lot of your spells that are being splashed one more mana, and that's kind of rough. This being uncounterable is super nice. I do really like that. That said, the actual land it's attached to, I think, is kind of a bummer. Um, all right, what else do we have here? Um, Let me try and pick some of these fun ones out. Here's the one. Gnarlid Colony. It's a bear with kicker. The kicker puts counters on it, and if stuff has counters on it, it gets trampled. Um, it really bothers me that that looks like a bear. It has bear stats, and it's not a bear. It's a beast. Um, that's gonna hurt me forever. Yeah. So this is there are a bunch of these tribal lords. Yes to this and to Pride Malkin. So let's bring up Pride Malkin as well. So Pride Malkin has the distinct issue of being a worse body, one more mana. Now it does put a counter on when it ETBs, so like it can buff itself. A 3/2 for 3 is like fine. Um, the question is like, how tall are we going? Because trample is good. Probably a noted Crown Ceratok too. Yeah, Crown Ceratok is I think the worst version of these. Crown Ceratok's just a 4/4 trample 4/3 with that text on it. So I think like if we're going the Gnarlid Colony, I think is the best in class. Pride Malkin is, if we try out Gnarlid Colony and people love it and they go, hey, I wish we had more of these, Pride Malkin goes in. If people are still clamoring for more, we may be considered Crown Ceratok, but that one's definitely a bit behind. But yeah, Gnarlid Colony I really like because this is early game a bear that buffs all your things with tokens into being able to get in. Late game, it's a 4/4 trample that also buffs all your other stuff with counters on it. So big fan of this. But yeah. What else do we have in here? Travel preps. Not going to put the counter elsewhere. Is it nothing? Yeah, it's not nothing. I just think like in the great scheme of things, like there's a pretty wide gap between Gnarlid Colony just being fine as like a 2/2. Um, yeah, I think there's a gap. I don't think it's a gigantic one. I think like the gap between Pride Malkin and Ceratops is a huge one. What about the other lords? Yes, those are all on the list, Gilzalas. Let's start running through some of them. So you've got Hagra Constrictor, which I do want to talk about because it's weird. Because you might notice this is not a green card and it's not a white card, which is a bit
Okay, but
awkward.
what if we had some markers?
I mean, I've shown off my willingness to draw on magic cards, but yeah. So Hagra Constrictor is interesting because the question becomes, do we want this to be something that spreads out past those two colors and bleeds into others? And this one is one where I love this. Making all your stuff with counters on it have menace is a huge, huge pain. I feel like counters is basically already a bit in black. Let me double check on that one for you. From stuff actually in the cube currently. Counter.
Butcher Ghoul will get +1/+1, and
Disowned
so
Ancestor.
you'll
Just what I need. Disowned Ancestor gets better. Yeah, Butcher Ghoul, Gluttonous Slug. Yeah, actually, surprising number of +1/+1 counters in black. That said,
yeah, slightly more.
some of them are bad. Um, I know.
This is true, but there are slightly more in black. Huh? There are more in black than there are in green right now. No, boot never isn't +1/+1. That's fine.
Yeah.
So even.
There was one other one that came up when I searched for counters. Yeah, Putrid Goblin has persist, so that one's not either. So there are 10 black creatures or black cards rather that play around with +1/+1 counters, and there's 11 in green. Or actually, are there even 11?
Green also has a persist creature
Okay, so green has
at
10. So there
11.
are exactly as many in black and green. Ancestor is black as well. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, yeah, this is interesting. Like, if we want to have kind of this like spread where like you can kind of do a pick two out of Abzan colors, that is something that's interesting. It does kind of put us in a position where we're kind of the more support this gets, the weirder I feel about having persist stuff in the cube. Because right now we have Ivy Lane Denizen to reset them, and the density as it goes higher, I feel weird about it, but we can kind of play that one by ear. Obviously, the black ones are worse, but it's an interesting splash. Yeah, like this could kind of become one of those things where, like, if you start seeing counters cards coming your way, you can kind of just pick them up and go, like, I'm going to pick two out of the Abzan colors. And, black is definitely the splash, but, like, you can kind of do, like, a black green counters build or just, like, the black green mid range normal stuff. So, yeah, I do kind of dig Hygro Constrictor. I feel like I'm gonna hate this card. When it's on the other side of the table, I should say. Like this does seem like it just makes combat math hell, um, and also makes you lose if you're not already ahead. Um,
Just remember, if you lose a game while drafting the Pauper Cube, you don't get to eat. So Stakes have never been higher.
Yeah. All right. What else do we have in that? Where was it? Other Lords, High Consider Long Shot Squad. Long Shot Squad, I remember being not great.
It's a little expensive, I think, for what it does.
It's
Doesn't
four
it just
mana
give
and
us
it
reach?
grants reach. So this is cool because like if we're going in Abzan colors, those are colors that sometimes have to deal with flyers. This is definitely the least interesting of them. Um, it just kind of is. It's out. It has Outlast. Outlast kind of honks as an ability when you're under any sort of pressure, just because of that sorcery rider. Um, let's look at the other one though. Bondkin. Now this one is pretty decent. So this one's a piker that gives everything else first strike. There's an area who do the job better than this. That's a reasonable thing. Yeah, Bondkin is neat. Um, this does kind of put you in the weird space of like you still have to have creatures that are as large as theirs, but you probably will since you're growing all of them. Yeah, this one's a pretty okay one. I think the trample ones are kind of best in class, but that's just me.
I think I'll agree. The other and from yeah, for me, Outlast is better on the cheaper creatures. So Disowned Ancestor is an all-star for having it. You play it early, and if you have nothing else to do, which doesn't always happen, but happens enough, you grow it.
Ye-
Once Bondkin is on the table and attacking can't get through, you go ahead
Mhm.
and grow it, and
Yeah,
that's fine. Once you're playing four mana for something, maybe in top deck mode, you still want that creature to have an actual impact instead of just tapping sideways and doing nothing.
yeah. I do like these sort of payoff effects, especially the ones like Bondkin and Gnarlid Colony, and even Pride Malkin, where like the body you get is okay. Like if I'm fine just playing this out and not caring about the counters, I feel much better about it. Let me bring up one, the Scrounging Bandar. Um, this one's a neat one where you can just kind of shift counters off of it to other stuff. Um, Also, I do just like the fact that for some reason every time I see it, my brain grows says pronounces the name Scrungy Bungems, and that brings a smile to my face. Also, it's a cat monkey. This one's okay as a support card. Um, I really wish that this was like an at the beginning of your upkeep or when it dies, because this feels really bad if they remove the thing it's targeting or remove it before it gets a chance to move them. What else we got here? I see Undying Evil. Hell yes. This is a good one. Who likes mole drifters? I know that's not the intended reason that this is here, but who likes mole drifters? Would this stuff just get crushed by a super efficient blue black deck? That is kind of the issue. Like this is something that puts more eggs in a single basket, but um,
Yeah, it definitely depends on how the hypothetical Selesnya deck, I guess, is constructed. Um,
yeah.
you don't have to spend time doing Outlast or growing the creature. You can just be playing your 1 mana 1/1s and two power creatures and sideways. And then if they hit a board stall or whatever against uh, Demir,
Mhm.
yes, you can maybe get over it, but
We do kind
it's
of.
hard to know without playing. Yes, it's part of the concern.
So Undying Evil is kind of a weird one here because card for card Demir is going to dominate. Huh. I mean, so I think that's part of the reason why I'm trying to like push for these counters cards to be fine on their own. Because obviously, like a synergy deck versus a raw value deck, like the synergy deck can draw the wrong parts at the wrong time, and that does create like an awkwardness. That said, are your green white decks winning against blue black decks right now? That's a serious question. I want people to think about. Like, if they're actually doing okay in that matchup, and this makes them worse, then that's something to listen to. If they're already not doing well in that matchup, changing things is not going to hurt that. But yeah, Undying Evil is one that's kind of awkward, just because if your thing has counters on this, it doesn't save it. That said, targeting my Phantom Nomad that's about to take its last damage almost never does white green BX for me. Yeah, like I that does not surprise me. Like just having efficient removal is going to do that, and at least making blacks like -X effects a little bit worse is going to, I hope, help this out. Um, but yeah, Undying Evil is a weirdo one. It does put a counter on a thing if it didn't have a counter, but it can't save your stuff that already does have counters, which is awkward. Using this to reset Phantom Nomad seems fun. Um, you know, just getting a 3/3 that dies real slow after already getting it to die or take damage twice is some real dirtle stuff. What else do we have in here? Why do I
What's
not?
the
Yeah.
other one? It doesn't add counters. Supernatural Stamina?
Yeah, there's a couple of
Oh yeah, that
these.
brings them back tapped. It's not quite as like if the creature already comes in with X number +1/+1 counters, then it's going to give them more or reset them.
Yeah.
It's not as exciting. I'm torn on it. Never mind. Ignore me.
It,
Ignore me.
I think Decontest is a good point here. Like, Undying Evil is better outside the counters deck than it is in the counters deck. I think that's completely accurate. Let me toss in. Oh, I don't recognize one of these card names. Hunter's Edge. Put a plus counter on. Oh, this is
It's the fight spell.
this is oh oh no, this is Hunt the Weak, but it's a one-sided thing. Um, oh, because this is a bite, not a fight.
Oh yeah, we definitely talked about it in the quick hits for that set.
Was that the one that I didn't write anything for? Is that maybe why I don't remember this?
Maybe. I
Have I
don't know. I've
gone
slept
com-
since then.
have I gone completely insane? So there's Hunter's Edge, and I see Gonzalez also pointing out struggle Skemfar. Um, yeah, so this is still a fight one, but it does have foretell to make it like cheap the turn it actually gets played. I think either of these are kind of neat inclusions. I have spoken before about the fact that I like these bite effects like Hunter's Edge a lot more than I like the actual out and out fight effects. Four is a bit steep. Um, that said, 4 mana, put a +1/+1 counter and kill something, I think is like not the worst in green. Um, you're basically paying 2 extra mana on top of your rabid bite effect to get a +1/+1 counter, and it's not great, but it's not awful. Let's see what else we got here that we haven't talked about. Oh, 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 oh. Silver Flame Ritual. This is a neat one. Um, so it's 3 and a white. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Okay, cool. Like this plays really nicely with proliferate effects. And then if you can somehow pay like cryptic cryptic command types of like color restrictive mana costs, they also gain vigilance until end of turn. It's neat.
I mean, yeah, it's hard. I'm trying to remember if I played this at all in Eldraine.
I played very little Eldraine, so I definitely didn't.
Yeah, I can't recall ever hitting Adamant with it for sure. Um, how many creatures have to get a +1/+1 counter at 4 mana for you to feel okay, given that we have travel preparations?
I mean, to
Like,
break
is it
even with
if you're
travel,
are you fine if it's 3?
I probably feel okay if I'm at 3. I feel good if I'm at 4.
Okay.
There's also the green hunt the week
Uh,
that gives indestructible. Do you know what that's called? It would probably be better than fortify. That's an interesting one. So because yeah, so fortify is like the worst in class at this point for this type of effect. There's the escalate one in Eldritch
oh,
Spoon,
help muscle. There we
out muscle. Yeah. I could make a pretty reasonable argument for Silver Flame Ritual sometimes, or a decent amount of the time being better. Bless selling, yeah. Out muscle. Let me. Oh, this is the bear suplex. Yeah, my brain just connected this. Huh.
Yeah, it's also got the adamant rider in order to get the indestructible. Potentially easier to do in green when it matters.
Yeah. I mean, this does have the issue of.
Hmm.
I guess this gives you indestructible for combat, right? Like you get to bash in with it.
Yeah, but I mean, if they're both sorceries, I would honestly rather just have the put a counter on it and bite something and then
Yeah.
risk your creature dying.
You're gonna get blowout with ritual compared to fortify. That is true. Ritual is sorcery speed. Fortify is sometimes just a trumpet blast, and trumpet blast kill people. Let me let me also pull up resistance. Hey, it puts a counter on something. It gains protection for the color of your choice until end of turn. Boy howdy. This feels weird to see next to Snakeskin Veil. Um, since Snakeskin Veil, I think it's just usually better than this. This does let you get like pesky auras off, which is kind of neat. Like, if they pacifism your thing, you give it pro white, aura falls off, and then you swing in with a slightly bigger thing, which is kind of neat. Um,
You can also avoid whole swaths basically of defenders with the color protection,
yeah,
whereas hexproof doesn't per se do that. It just
yeah,
stops kill spells.
that is true. Like this potentially, if your opponent's monocolored, just being able to go, haha, creatures into unblockable and bigger. It's slightly worse than Shelter. So I don't think it's worse. I think these are different cards that do different things.
Yeah.
So Shelter cantrips, the other one makes your thing bigger. I don't think one of these is better or worse. I think they are situationally better and worse. Let me see if there's anything else in this list that I wanted to talk about. Someone who brought up.
So while you're
Oh,
looking,
yeah, go
go ahead.
ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask the chat, and I know there's not 1,000 people today, but one of the I guess significant discussions that I had last year with some other cubers at higher rarity cubes was how many cards do I have to have in my 360 cube to support an archetype or signal an archetype.
Mm,
And for some of them, that number is super low. It's I have I have 60 red cards, 40 are just good red cards, and then each color pair gets six cards that signal spells matter or prowess.
mm-hmm.
Here's extra specific aggro, or here's red based ramp. Um, for our counter support, we've talked about at least 10 cards now, and I lost count, but we're up there. How many cards do we think that we would need to start with for people that they're likely to construct a deck that feels cohesive in a random draft?
That is an interesting
And
question
nobody
here.
needs to answer this right now. I just want to ask that question and get feedback in the near future.
Yeah. I think there's going to be some discussions leading up to this update, which might make it take a little bit longer, where we have to kind of have a little bit of opinions, just because we don't want to go super hard into counters and then have to pull everything out. It's probably 20ish from the powers weaker. I think the other thing that's interesting to have in this discussion is like red aggro as like an archetype is a lot easier because, and I see Running Monkey's already kind of making this point in the chat. The more cards are good on their own, the lower the number can be. This is kind of what I'm talking about. Like red aggro is a very broad selection of an archetype. Like Bolt and Goblin Guide are both equally good in that deck. Bolt also goes into your red X control decks. It goes into any deck with red. Like the more generic these things are, like something akin to let's pull up some of the stuff we talked about today. Like Feat of Resistance is probably still good in a deck that doesn't care about counters in that it just protects your thing from removal and it bashes in for more, or it makes it evasive and it bashes in for more. Um, you know, Outmuscle, probably fine. The things that get a little bit trickier are when you get, these things, your lords. Like Einok Bondkin is probably fine. It's a piker. Longshot Squad, though, you're looking at a Gray Ogre, or yeah, no, a Hill Giant. Sorry, you're looking at a Hill Giant without other support. Oh, Fizzle dropped out. Guess we'll just hang out for a little bit. If anyone else wants to toss questions in the chat, go nuts. Like it's Saturday. I don't have anywhere to be, so is there anyone in the chat? Am I just talking to myself? Can I talk about the lower counterspell number? Yeah, we can talk about that if you want. Um, Let me just pull up the cube list. So right now we are on counterspell deprived, mana leak, miscalc, remove soul. Um, so there's a counterspell I would love to toss in this cube. Um, and it's Force Spike. I would really love to just kind of toss this one in here, especially with blue green tempo being a thing. 5 mana blue. Oh, that's right. We've got soul manipulation. So I really love stuff like Force Spike. In terms of like the tempo decks where you want low CMC on your interaction. This also like part of the Pauper Cube is the fact that this is a good number of people's introduction to cubing, and they may be players who are newer to the game. It's a color stringent mana tide. Get out, please. This is the mana tide where you actually can predict that it's coming. So like stuff like Force Spike, I think is really nice to sort of bolster those tempo-y sort of strategies. I think even getting the catch being that like you got Force Spike, you've got Mana Leak, 2 mana, pay 3. You've got Miscalc, which is a cyclable thing if you don't need to counter it. The catch is we kind of like the conditional counter spells kind of falls off after there. There is the option of something like memory lapse, which I'm a big fan of for tempo oriented strategies. It's only one color, only one blue pip. Oh, looks like Fizzle's back.
Yep, sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. Someone just asked about the relatively low counter spell count. And I'm just walking through some options. Yeah, stuff like memory lapse is really cool in that this is a pretty big tempo swing. So if we were looking to include more counter spells, and that's another type of thing which we might toss in the polls section just to see how people feel about it. this is definitely kind of the stuff I'd love to go in on. Probably not conditional like weirdo ones like Arcane Denial. This probably ain't getting in the cube anytime soon. Um, but yeah, there's there's a whole bunch of like interesting one in a blue. Memory Lapse does have some beautiful new art. Actually, I am a big fan. So we've got the Japanese one that's kind of like anime woodblock combo. Oh, is this supposed to be Ephemerate? Are these the ones that got swapped? Yeah, Syncopate's a great example.
Yeah,
Yeah, Syncopate's a good one. That one scales a little bit better. Yeah, Memory Lapse. The oh man, why is this so low resolution? Huh. Yeah, Syncopate's a good example.
Condescend Scry was always a favorite.
Yeah, I think this is kind of more where I'd want to include more counter spells. But yeah, that's definitely something that I've heard from time to time. We generally don't try and put a ton of counter spells in here because for some newer players that can be a frustrating experience. That said, I'm definitely open to the idea that maybe more than 5 counter spells in mono blue is a good idea. But yeah, that's definitely something where I'd love the new reject mana leak for creatures. Yeah. There's also oh god. So there's reject, which is
Bumblebee.
a mana leak only for creatures, and it exiles instead. There's one other.
Clench is technically playable, but not exciting.
Yeah, that one's just miscalculation, but way worse.
We currently have Remove Soul. You could add Essence Scatter instead.
Mm-hmm.
Reject.
Here we go. So there's also no escape, which I thought was
So
2 mana, but is just a hard creature counter spell that exiles it and scries one. Yeah, quench is just miscalc without the it's just miscalc without the cycling, which obviously makes it much worse. There is also awkwardly there's, they've printed a lot of miscalcs without cycling, haven't they? There's Rune Snag. Um, we don't have Essence Scatter 2? No, we currently are just on Remove Soul for creature only.
and I'll note the survey slash I don't know how to best describe it.
Mm-hmm.
The anecdata that you gathered last year didn't tell us that blue was especially in need of help after the MTGO cube.
Yeah.
So we hadn't been looking up at how to shore up blue or clarify its identity per se. Um, the the knowledge that people in the community have a desire for it is welcome.
Yes.
We will definitely continue to look at it, especially in the event that we don't address it or talk specifically next up about it. We haven't forgotten it, and we won't forget it. Just want to point out that it hadn't been high on our list of priorities. We'll definitely look at it as we look at other counterspell options that we don't currently.
Oh, you still there?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
here.
sorry, it just cut off at the very end of your sentence, and I was worried that you dropped out again. Yeah,
Oh
but
no, I'm mumble.
I definitely think that we can look into some more counter spells. I think I'm more keen on mana leak vein of things. But it's definitely something where if the community feels that like that we could use a couple more counter spells, that's definitely something that we can do. There's no hard and fast rule about not having more counter spells. Is there anything else that folks want to hear about just in general since we're having fairly open conversation here? One or two. Yeah, like what one or two is enough that it doesn't meaningfully change like drastically. So yeah, I'm totally fine with that kind of being a thing. In fact, I could even just like make a poll for this right now. Could literally just go and do that. But yeah, if there's anything else folks are like curious about, or have, suggestions, take those too. Question two. Any thoughts on expanding the cube in general, like card count wise, Boomerang? Honestly, not. It's already large enough that it creates some level of artificial variant, or not artificial. It creates some level of variance between from draft to draft. So it's not something we've been looking at in particular. Is there any sort of thought as to why you'd want that? Make each
Because wants to make
individual
each
card
card.
larger. That's a you got me. You got me. I appreciate that.
I will note that it's going to be harder in the near term to get giant commander-sized cards
That's true.
to
They
shuffle.
stopped making those.
So I guess if you did convert your cube over right now, it would uh, kind of a collector's piece. Electricity 2 says, I don't think the Pauper card pool supports high quality drafts in a larger size. Um, I, it can. I think
I
it depends on the
we could move to like
flavor of the archetypes.
450, right? Like if we
Yeah,
move to 450, that would probably still be fine. You're not going to notice a huge drop off. Now, if you start looking at like 720 or something ridiculous, that's the point where you start like you're either you're playing some trash or you're playing duplicates, and that's just how it is.
yeah, I agree. I've seen a few reasonable flavors of 540s. I think are both playable and fun, even with the popular restriction. But yeah, as Speedy Gonzalez is noting in chat right now, um, you have a few more cards where you're like, why am I picking this before fifth?
Yeah,
Why am I picking it before 10th? Honestly, in a pack. Um,
mostly just want to hear other thoughts. Yeah, that's totally fine. All right, there's now a poll made for more counter spells. So impose alt. I don't know. We have a poll up, so folks can feel free to vote in that thing. Um, yeah. I guess the only other thing like I have is I do want to thank people who voted in the Great Cube rating experiment. It's been enlightening, even as anecdata.
don't worry, I just smashed my face into the board. I don't know whether that's regarding your username
I
or
think I think
voting.
that's the username. Actually, I do want to talk about a little bit about the fact that like there are a surprising number of cards that people are just wholeheartedly in favor of. I was actually pretty darn shocked to see what is it? We have there were 23 cards that got flawless ratings, which I was kind of shocked by. I was not shocked by what they were, to be clear. Like I'm not that dreadfully shocked that like Rancor did not get any neutral or negative votes, but you know, yeah. And that's something we'll keep doing as a way to kind of check in with community on stuff. It allows for nice, very simple responses that allow folks to contribute opinions without having to type up a whole bunch of stuff. So hopefully that's something that folks can continue to do, and we appreciate it as a nice way to allow you to have your voice heard. Um, yeah. All right. If I'm gonna, obviously there's a bit of delay here, I'm sure. If folks have other questions, we can totally take them now. Questions, comments, concerns, any of that. But if not, I think we've gotten to the end of what we wanted to talk about. So um, I am totally here if folks want to keep talking, or we can call it for the day. Nice little 2 hour jobby.
Not too shabby. I know that
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be writing some stuff and throwing it out Discord, not that because I'm a lazy bum. But, yeah, I've been appreciating the comments. A couple of people who unfortunately couldn't make this discussion asked some specific questions. I don't know if they'll listen to this, but I wanted to note that those conversations specifically changed my views between the quick hits and between this discussion, at least two cards. So continue sharing your feedback with us.
Yeah.
It's valuable. We appreciate it.
I don't want to hit people with the if you don't vote or voice opinion, you don't get to have one. But the more opinions we hear, the better. Because at the end of the day, this is something that we do mainly for everyone else. While we enjoy the cube as well, we're trying to make sure that folks have a good experience here. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything in the chat. I'm just gonna make sure that I haven't like disconnected somehow. Nope, there's still folks in the chat. Yeah. In that case, it's been a couple minutes and no one said anything new. So thank you everyone for coming out today. It was wonderful. I'm glad that folks voted on stuff so that we could narrow it down and we didn't talk about 50 cards because I probably would be wanting to go to sleep now. But yeah, cool. In that case, that'll be it for today. Wonderful talking with everyone.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for participating and I don't know, keeping us honest, we'll say.
Yeah, and hopefully we will have the update in a fairly short amount of time. We are hoping to turn it around within a week, maybe a week and a half. That's my hope. That said, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Thankfully, not all of it is new cards. A lot of it's old cards. So hopefully, it should go fairly quickly. Yeah, and this will be up on YouTube in a little bit. And with that, I'll talk to folks in the Discord.
All right. Have a great afternoon slash evening to
Yeah,
time zone you guys are in.
yeah. I was gonna say
Sorry,
have
you
a
people, not
wonderful
guys.
have a wonderful time zone appropriate rest of the day. All right, take it easy, everyone.